How's it going, everyone? This is the George here, and today I'm going to be reviewing Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire. This is the sequel to Godzilla vs. Kong and was once again directed by Adam Wingard and stars Rebecca Hall, Brian Tyree Henry, and Dan Stevens. And once again, we are focused on Godzilla and King Kong. King Kong is in Hollow Earth and he's looking for other giant apes and he comes across them only to discover that they're being imprisoned by another giant ape called the Scar King. And Godzilla's on the surface fighting against other monsters and titans that are arriving on the surface level, as well as causing some damage as fighting these monsters. And as I said before, this is a sequel to Godzilla vs. Kong, and this is not connected to the most recent Godzilla movie, Godzilla Minus One, which, in my opinion, is a phenomenal movie and is, without a doubt, the best Godzilla movie to ever come out. And I wanted to go into this movie not having that big of expectations because I know that that was made by a different studio. And it's not that I dislike the MonsterVerse. I enjoy some of the MonsterVerse movies, but I feel like there's not enough focus on the title characters, and there's been too much focus on the human characters, similar to Transformer movies. And I'll definitely say this movie, Kong, is the main focus. He is the main character. So if you're a fan of King Kong, I think you're going to be satisfied with how King Kong is portrayed in this movie, being the focal point of this movie. I mean, Godzilla's still in the movie. He still has his moments, but it doesn't do as much as Kong does in this movie. And I will say, it feels like there's only a few human characters compared to what we're usually used to. And I think for the most part, there's no pointless human arcs in this movie compared to some of the previous movies. Now, I did enjoy Godzilla vs. Kong, but I will say that while I still like the movie, I wouldn't give it as high of a score as I did when it first came out. I'd probably give it around a B or a B minus now. And I say that because there are just some things in that movie that I would not have done. Focusing on human characters that should not have been in that movie. The movie felt rushed at times, including the ending. And I'll say this movie still has some of those same problems in regards to a rushed ending and a short runtime. This is less than 2 hours. But I also feel like it fixed some of the mistakes of the previous movie, minimizing some of the human moments. There's still human moments in this movie. There's a moment with Rebecca Hall's character and her adopted daughter, who's one of the last members of this tribe, and trying to figure out what's best for her daughter. I like the banter between Brian Tyree Henry's character and Dan Stevens' characters. I think that was funny in compared to other human elements from previous MonsterVerse movies. But I also feel like they kind of use the human characters as a way of giving exposition for why certain stuff is happening or why things are going to happen. Um, as I said, the Kong stuff is great. The Scar King looks terrific. I think he's a great villain, one of the better MonsterVerse villains. Kong has this little ape helping him out as well. Suko's his name, and the dynamic between them, I enjoyed that a bit. I will say, and it could be because I'm also rewatching the Planet of the Apes movies in preparation for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. The ape moments reminded me or gave me vibes to the more recent Planet of the Apes movies. Um, I just kind of got those kind of vibes from it, which I enjoyed. I'm not complaining about that. Um, and you can tell that there's more giant monster titan interaction in this movie compared to other movies. I mean, you don't see like subtitles saying what the monsters are saying, but you get the gist that at least they're having some form of interaction. While Godzilla feels minimal in this movie, the Godzilla stuff is still very cool. The action's very cool. The special effects, the monster designs look really cool. The action's a lot of fun. Hollow Earth looks fantastic. I'll say the special effects, I think they did a very good job with it. Definitely looks better than some of the special effects from movies that have come out in like the last couple of years where VFX, special effects were being rushed because of delays and such. in trying to meet deadlines. Um, while I've been praising this movie, I do have my faults besides the rushed ending and the less than 2 hours time. It just felt like other things were rushed for convenience. For example, something happens to Kong in the movie without spoiling, and in order to help Kong, what the humans do, it just feels very rushed, very convenient, and there's really not a lot of time to process. It's like by the time you're processing how serious about what happened to Kong is affecting him, all of a sudden Kong is ready to go and back in the action. The beginning, while everything else might feel rushed, the beginning felt pretty slow and build up. And there's some things that I felt like this might be weird to say because I do sometimes complain about the human element in the MonsterVerse movies. I feel like there wasn't a lot of time to discuss the impact and whether or not it's good that Godzilla is hanging around fighting monsters, because I know at the beginning they're saying, "Oh, Godzilla's here fighting the battles that we can't fight and all that," but he's also causing a lot of this damage, and there's no questions or like nothing being addressed about the damage that's being caused, the human life that's being lost while all this Godzilla stuff is happening. It just felt like that was never addressed. If anything, the other human element of this movie is basically them tracking Godzilla as he's on the move, fighting other monsters, or going from place to place. There's really no questions about, hey, like, look at all this human life or all this destruction that's possibly happening. He's using the Roman Colosseum as his bed. And without spoiling the end, a lot of action stuff happens at the end, which is really cool to watch, but there's a lot of damage and stuff happening. Are they going to wait for the sequel to address the damage that Godzilla caused, you know, despite helping stop the evil threat? Are Is that not going to be addressed in a future sequel if they make a sequel? If it's not, then I don't know what to say. But overall, with Godzilla X Kong, I did enjoy this movie. I think I enjoyed this one more than Godzilla versus Kong. The human element in this movie, for the most part, is one of the better ones in the MonsterVerse. Um, there's some work that needs to be done with the pacing, from a slow beginning to rushed moments. There was never that perfect balance. The monsters look cool. The stuff with Kong finding the other apes and interacting with them was really cool. The Scar King was a really cool, great villain in my opinion. Special effects were great, and I think if you're a Kong fan, I think you're gonna enjoy this one, because for once it felt like one of the title characters in these MonsterVerse movies had a lot of time to shine, and Kong did get a lot. If you're a Godzilla fan, you might be disappointed that Godzilla didn't get as much screen time. It was kind of more so in the background and only had a lot more to do in the third act. And yeah, it's definitely nowhere near as good as Godzilla -1, but I don't want to like have that standard where if it's not as good as Godzilla -1, then it's not a good movie or I'm not going to enjoy it. As long as I enjoy the movie and I thought the story has, a decent plot and the action is great, I'm fine with it. I will say, like I said, I probably enjoyed this more than the other MonsterVerse movies, but I still have my concerns and negatives with the movie. But I would definitely rewatch this over any of the other MonsterVerse movies. I'm going to give Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire a B. And like I said, if you're a Kong fan, I highly recommend this. If you're a Godzilla fan, um, I still recommend you check it out. It's definitely one of the better Godzilla movies with Godzilla in it that was made by an American studio compared to some of the other Godzilla movies that have come out in years. It's definitely a lot better than Godzilla King of the Monsters. And I would say I enjoyed this more than the 2014 Godzilla that Gareth Edwards did, which I still think is a good movie. Miles better than the one directed by, I think it was Roland Emmerich in the late 90s. So yeah, go check out Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire if you haven't already. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe, or if you haven't, please share us with someone that's a fan of Godzilla or King Kong. And I hope to see you guys real soon. Take care, everyone.